Hey, this is Bruce Boudreau, and you're listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mack, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 208 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes, and I am going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Mr. Nick Manella. What's going on, my friend?
A lot, dude. Big day for sports here in the Manila household. We had Arsenal in the Champions League. They drew against Bayern Munich earlier, and then that went straight into the massive victory that the Washington Capitals just had, which I am excited to get into with you boys tonight.
Yeah, 'tis the season for late night recordings. When the wild card race is this tight, you got to make sure you're recording basically almost real time. So a nice little 10 p.m. sesh for the boys over here, but 9 p.m. for my good friend up in Wisconsin, Mr. Mac Vogel. What's going on?
Yeah, it's almost like you should have said good evening, everybody. Although I guess most people will be listening manana morning, so either way works. I'm chomping at the bit to talk Caps right now, so I'm gonna bite my tongue so we can get through a little bit of this fight night in New York City first, and then I'll tee off.
We really have to savor these opportunities to talk positively about this team based on the last 2 weeks. So I'm fully going to enjoy this one.
Yeah, I was
Well,
gonna.
and don't worry, there'll be some negative comments as well.
You know what? Well, I'll save what I was going to say in the intro for some of the negative comments, and we can revisit what might have happened on our social media last week. So, yeah. But we're going to do something a little different this episode. We are going to start with the discussion portion. It's going to drive a lot of the episode, and then kind of save the news, gambling, NCAA picks for the latter part of the episode. So, sit tight, grab your coffee, and let's have a nice little wild card race discussion. But before we do, it's just a reminder that this discussion portion of the episode is brought to you by Kane Footwear. Nick, I think you got a
Yep.
word.
That's right, boys. It's right before the playoffs, so everyone who's in the playoffs is hurt and magically returning for game one. And I know exactly how they're doing that. They're using their cane revives, which are made with bounce back foam made from Brazilian sugarcane technology. So if you want to be like the leading stars in the NHL and recover the best way possible, head to the link in our bio today to get a pair of the most comfortable shoes you will ever own.
Absolutely. So before we talk wild card race, Caps Wings games that we just watched, of course, last week, right after we release our episode, probably the biggest piece of hockey media slash content that circulated around the internet, fight night at MSG, Rangers Devils, full blown line brawl. I know everybody who's listening has probably heard some type of take about this whole situation and all those different recaps. But I want to ask you fellas, what was your whole thought on the experience of fight night at Madison Square Garden?
So I had this one marked on my calendar. Obviously, after the way the last matchup ended between those two teams, I knew exactly anyone who's been following the NHL knew what was about to go down. I was sitting in front of my TV watching the pregame as they're counting it down. Probably, I think I tuned in as there was still like a good 30 minutes before puck drop. So I got to see them all kind of anticipating it. Lundqvist and the boys going through what they were probably about to see. So that was kind of cool to build up that momentum. And what was really funny is one of my roommates, Jason, who is not at all a sports fan. He kind of likes hockey because I've gotten him into it, but he knows nothing about it. He happened to wander in the room, like no joke, 60 seconds before the puck gets dropped for the first period. And I was like, sit down, sit down. And he's like, why? What's going on? And I really quickly tried to like explain to him what the hell was about to happen. And he's like, how do you know they're going to fight right now? And I was like, shut up, just watch. And like, of course, I didn't expect all five guys to go like that, but
Yeah.
it starts going and it's mayhem. And my roommate was literally like, he's like, I don't understand what the fuck is happening.
I loved it. I mean, I loved every second of it. I know that there was a ton of poo-pooing it on the internet, people saying that this doesn't belong in the game and that it was staged. And I don't think you know what you're talking about if you say that, because this is clearly a direct response to something that was not resolved from last game. We've said it 1,000 times this year already. This is why this fighting thing exists in this sport, is to police the stuff that does not get checked. And cherry on top is the two coaches screaming at each other back and forth. I would have,
Oh
I mean,
God, that was amazing.
I can't imagine what behind the glass tickets cost for that game. Well worth it 10 times over. I mean, that had to be
Yeah.
incredible.
Oh, absolutely. I also love one of my favorite like little tidbits that you hear kind of after the fact when players who were involved get to talk about it, is that there was no conversations between the two teams about it during warmups. No, like, we're gonna do this, right? Just a complete, just I know that this is happening. And Rempe's quote too, he was like, I mean, it was pretty obvious when both coaches started us. It was pretty obvious it was going to happen. So that was kind of cool to hear.
Harry, what were your thoughts? I want to hear this.
I mean, Nick, of course, you and I come from the same school of hard knocks when it comes to fighting in hockey. It was awesome. I mean, and it's self-policing, like you said. Rempe's got to answer. McDermott even said after the game, I'm pretty sure his quote, I don't have it in front of me, but it was like, I respect the kid. Like he made a dirty hit. His coach told him not to fight last game. He started the game today. We had a fight. We all fought and we all move on. And it's like, that's kind of how it should be. I bet you Rempe's not going to be doing anything to the Devils quite that dirty and anytime soon, or at least I would hope not. But I loved it. It got hockey in the media, and when ESPN's talking about it, that's
right.
That's a win. We'll take it.
It's a win, but it was entertaining nonetheless. I don't know. You're always gonna have people who bitch about the fighting, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So that was fun. Of course, that comes out on Wednesday of last week, like 12 hours after we published the episode, so I had to save that for a nice little week later. But we are going to move into the wild card race. We are fresh off the Caps Red Wings game on Tuesday, April 9th. I'll let you two talk about the game itself, and then we'll dive into some of the other teams in the standings and games remaining.
First things first, I'm so mad that Charlie Lindgren did not get the shutout.
Same.
That is such bullshit. Really sucks. Nice fucking goal, Patrick Kane. Fucking loser. Anyway, that just had to get that out of the way before anything else there.
He absolutely deserved it too. And I know it literally means nothing, but it was it's also sucks. Like the 10th situation where something like that has happened to Charlie Lindgren in the third period this year. But
you just feel for the guy. Cause again, for those of you who don't know, he made like 44 saves or some shit like that, which is a season high for him, and surrendered a goal on like a weird fucking random ass play with like less than 1 second on the clock.
It's like four bodies in the crease. It's just, it's a complete parking lot.
Stupid,
but I just want to say, I mean, unbelievable win by the Caps.
Yep.
It was not going well. I think in the first, you could say half of that game, they were basically doubled up on chances by the Wings. Wings were moving the puck a lot better. Caps basically were in like playoff, get to the red line and dump it in mode, I would say, for the first half of that game.
Yep.
But what they did that I loved was they capitalized on chances. They missed a couple open nets in the first period.
LaPierre's got to have, he had two pretty much open nets that he just, sometimes it's puck luck. It's not that he like totally blew it, but you gotta find a way to finish those.
Exactly. Love the goals by Strome and Ovi. The Ovi one is just a patented Ovi coming off the wing, basically freezing the defenseman. I think it was Sherratt, who's usually typically pretty good at coming out to challenge shooters, but that and then Lyon just leaving the short side way too wide open. And there.
For me, the off the wall pass by Oshie to Ovi on that goal was just beautiful. So, and obviously great to have Osh back in the lineup tonight. That's always huge, even if he's not necessarily the one scoring the goals. It just seems like Oshie and Wilson, when either of them, or especially when both of them are not in the lineup, the Caps just have no spark. There's just those guys, the play runs through those guys and the energy runs through those guys more than anything else.
for sure the heartbeat and the glue of the team. I think looking at some of the things I would have liked to see more, Alexei Protas has had a great year, but when you're 6'6", sometimes you need to stop looking for the perfect pass and just take the puck to the net. Nine times out of 10, you're going to either get a penalty call or a rebound chance or a good scoring chance when the defender comes in behind you and just pushes the puck in.
You read my mind. I actually had that exact thought, like sometime in the first or second period, watching the game. And along those same lines, there's also a couple plays I noticed where he could have ran somebody through the glass cleanly, like just finish. I want to see him finish some of those checks more because again, he's gigantic. I mean, he's fucking enormous. Like,
yeah, we've got Lurch from the Adams family here, and for whatever reason, he doesn't want to use it. But
yeah, no, exactly. So, obviously there's notes, there's always critiques, but holy shit, two massive points. Can't wait to see the fucking deserve to win a meters for that one because it's gonna be pretty lopsided the other way, but don't matter.
That game was just a microcosm of the Cap season this year. It makes no sense, right? Like, and I think you guys could probably admit this. I think Mac just alluded to it. The Wings brought it. Like they didn't, I wouldn't say they choked. They just got Lindgren, like for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
they got Charlie Lindgren.
They did big time.
The other thing, they interviewed Lalonde, Detroit's coach, like halfway. This was actually like minutes before the Strome goal. It was 0-0. Wings were all over us, and they did the quick like behind the bench thing, and they're like, "How do you think your team's playing? Are you happy so far?" And he was like, "We're playing terrific." He was like, "We look amazing. I'm not worried at all. We look awesome." Basically, was the gist of his comments, which I totally agreed with. I was like, yeah.
And they did for the most part. I think what the Caps did in response to that was great. I mean, completely neutralized DeBrincat, who has tortured them in the past.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Completely neutralized Larkin too, which is the setup man there. So that was huge.
Yep.
Yeah. 42 saves for Chucky. I mean, he played great. Definitely the MVP of the game. From the Wings perspective, the big guns played well. I thought Larkin was noticeable. Patty Kane was noticeable. Perron was noticeable. One guy, though, that, I'm looking at the score sheet, and I didn't really notice much in the game. I know he got an assist, but Lucas Raymond, no shots on net this game.
That was a big one.
He had the puck a decent amount. I feel like I heard the announcers calling his name a decent amount, but definitely would like to, if you're a Wings fan, you want to see him shoot more and hit the net, especially when the team has that many shots. You would have hoped he'd had a couple. I mean, just a weird game. I think we also got to mention that with that OV goal, he has now scored fucking 18 30-goal seasons, most in NHL history. So yet another mind-boggling OV record.
It's just insane to think about. And
yeah, that's like, think of how many guys play 18 seasons. It's probably like 0.0 whatever. And then you got him scoring 30 goals in 18 seasons.
Am I correct that he's had exactly one season where he didn't score 30 goals?
And it was the pandemic season, right?
Right. Yeah. I think so.
And he had 24.
Right.
I also think it's just crazy to think about. I mean, look at where we were in October, November when Ovi's got 5 goals on the year or going into 2024. And people are saying this record is in jeopardy. You know, what's going on with him? And I mean, don't get me wrong. He was off his game for sure.
Never a doubt though.
Never a doubt. But I mean, talk about a guy that just said, all right, fuck it. I'm turning it on right now. I came into 2024 and just lit it up.
You know what it was, right?
Yeah. The Dubai trip.
Yeah, he rode the camels over All-Star break.
Day.
He got over the hump.
Yeah.
Mac, I give Mac credit. He was beating that drum all season, and I was, probably playing a little bit of evil villain, saying, I don't know, like, what do you think? And here we are. So, it's gonna be a fun finish for the Caps. Huge win over Detroit. We're gonna dive into some of the other teams in the race, and we'll include the Caps in there. So right now, as it currently stands, the Caps are in a playoff spot, which is crazy. It'll probably change by the 2 days after this is done being recorded, but they've got 85 points, 4 games left. Red Wings have 84 points with 4 games left. The Penguins have 84 points with 4 games left. The Islanders have 87 points with 4 games left. They just beat the Rangers right before we started recording this. And then, I could mention the Flyers, but they just lost 9-3 to the Canadiens. So I don't really think they deserve our attention. Maybe if we run short, we'll include them. But for right now, it looks like it's the Caps, Wings, Pens, and Islanders, and only what? It looks like one of those teams is going to be left out. So
I think that, you're looking at these remaining games here, and the big games that jump out to me here are the fact that the Penguins play the Red Wings and the Islanders to finish this up. I know the Caps play the Flyers, but like you just mentioned, if you lose 9-3 to the Canadians,
yeah.
we'll get to that game when we come to it. But right now, that one's on the back burner for me.
Are you going to ask that question? Whoever added that? That's a good. I like that question. I'm curious to know the answer.
What? Oh, yeah. I would like to ask that question. Sorry, I glanced over that. Before we dive deeper into this, there has been only one team in the last 10 years that has made the playoffs with less than 90 points. It happened in the 2015-2016 season. Any guesses on who that team might be?
My gut wants to say, because that season, my gut wants to say it might be like the Red Wings or something. I feel like they were like
not the Red,
not the Wings.
Is it a West Coast team or like a Western Conference team?
Not West Coast, Western Conference. Yes.
Is it Colorado?
Good guess. No, but I
Minnesota.
believe yes.
Yep.
Oh, that's so lame. That's so typical of them too.
It's so purgatory.
Exactly. That's as soon as
It
as soon as you said Colorado, I was like, no, but it's close. That's a good stat. I
think they played each other that year, but and I apologize. 2 of those 4 teams will be excluded, not one, because Tampa has the wild card one. So
correct.
I'm gonna chat Pens real quick. I'm gonna dive into it, and then we'll move into some other stuff. So, wow, what a turnaround 2 weeks makes. I pronounced this team dead 1,000 times. I shit talk them constantly, and somehow we are here. I don't understand how.
What did I say in December? What did I say?
Yeah, that's true. But also, like a week ago, you were spewing some shit in our chat, and I was like making fun of you. I was like, "Shut up, bro! They don't have a snowball's chance in hell."
There was mention of getting to a point where you were winning the draft lottery. So that's gone.
This guy was on full Celebrini mode.
Oh, yeah. We were 20. I think I saw on March 27th, the Pittsburgh Penguins were in 26th place in the NHL out of the whole thing. So when you see that, you're like, all right, we're in top 10 territory. And here we are 2 weeks later. And, if we win out, we're going to make it.
For solid 2 weeks, or at least a week, you were in the chat sending us like their odds of winning the draft lottery.
Oh yeah, no, the whole fan base is 180. But I just want to say 2 things. So I was at that Caps Pens game last week in DC. Great time, good experience. Obviously a huge win for the Pens. That was a weird game. It felt like 2017 again. Where like. We just played a weird game, and like P.O. Joseph scores, like Ryan Shea scores, like what the fuck is going on? Why is this happening? And you guys even said it, like that's so Caps to let those kind of guys score.
First and second goals of the year. Love that. Check.
So that was a great game, but I have to mention that if you followed us on Instagram, myself and Mac may have had a slight little bet on that game. Winner, has the loser wear the opposite team's jersey. So I don't know whenever he's comfortable, but Mac will be wearing black and gold at some point on a recording, and I can't wait for that day.
I was just kidding. Come on. You guys know I was just kidding, right?
After the first period, were you just like, fuck, I'm going to have to wear it?
Yeah, it didn't help that one of my buddies who's a Penguins fan, he's actually a DJ, and fun fact, his DJ name is Flurry.
That's awesome.
He was at my house watching the game, wearing his whatever. What era did you guys wear the black hockey stick jerseys with like the non-neon yellow? You know what I'm talking about?
The
like
baby food color.
Yeah, exactly. Just the classic black home jersey, but not the neon yellow highlights. He was wearing his Fleury jersey and rubbing it in my face the whole game. So it was apparent to me very early on that I was in trouble, and he reminded me several times throughout the game that he has several jerseys that I can borrow to fulfill this bet. So
I love that.
Do you know which players he has? Because you could, like, I was gonna say, what's the thought process here for who's like the least damaging to you to put on your back?
He's got that Fleury one. He's got like a practice jersey that's actually kind of cool. I'm not even gonna lie. And then I think he's got the Winter Classic, the light blue one.
The first one.
Yeah, I can't remember who's on the back. He's got 3 or 4. He's a big jersey guy, so
nice.
We'll see. We'll see.
I feel like I should have a say in that, but we'll save that for whenever that happens. I do want to just say that game, there was a family in front of us who wore penguin like Halloween costumes, like full-blown onesie suits. And I couldn't understand. I was like, that's just so like chaotic. Why? And after the game, they had a sign that they were holding up, and they turned around and like showed it to like our section, and it was like from Alaska, like, or some shit like that. Like, we drove or flew X amount of hours from Alaska. So after the game, I had a couple and was feeling myself, and I was like, hey, are you guys actually from Alaska? And the guy's like, nah, like, we just have the fucking sign. And I was like, really? He's like, no, we flew like 30 hours to get here. I said, you flew 30 hours to watch the Penguins play the Capitals, for both of them to probably miss the playoffs. And he's like, no, like, it's our kid. Like, we want him to see the Smithsonian's and all this stuff. So I told him about the pod. I was like, yeah, like, we were on the pod. Like, I'll tell the story, whatever. This guy, and Nick, I sent you a picture, and I know you didn't care. Layla told me you wouldn't care. She's like, why are you sending this to him? It's 10 p.m. at night and you just beat his team. But I
saw it the next morning.
I sent you, he gives me his business card and he goes, hey, like, it would mean a lot to me if you gave us a shout out on your podcast. I was like, okay, like, what do you want? And he just gives me his card. This guy sells motorcycle parts in like Anchorage, Alaska. And he's
Dude's
like, please.
probably a billionaire because everyone's got an ATV or a side by side. So
that's true. I didn't even think about
it. You know what
Yeah.
we should do is, to really help his business, is we all fly out to Alaska and then he lets us have some ATVs for like the week.
Or just to keep, and we can drive them back.
That sounds
bridge,
horrible,
right?
but
that would be electric. Yeah, no,
it's gotta be a bridge.
No, gas powered.
I told him I'd read it. I lost it, but I just thought that was a funny story. Also, last thing I'll say before we actually do like real stuff. People are so dumb. I'm a Pens fan. I love beating the Capitals. I've never gone on the steps and like chanted like that stuff.
Dude, chanting "We want the cup" when you're not in a playoff position is
brutal.
a serial killer move.
Yeah, that's
brutal.
That's Pens fans in a nutshell for you.
So I've only gone to one. I think I've gone to one Caps Pens game at Cap One and Nick. It was when you and I went, and I just don't get it. Like, obviously, if you followed us on Twitter, social media, like, I was filming it. I was like, oh, this is kind of funny. Like, I want to stir the pot a little bit. Let's get some engagement. But in all seriousness, it's not that funny. It's not that cool. And then there was a fight that broke out, and the cops had to break it all up. It was wild.
Yeah, fighting anywhere outside of Washington Capitals game is probably the dumbest thing you can do because I don't.
There might be no greater police presence in the entire National Hockey League.
Like, just for people that aren't from that area and don't know, if you pulled your car up to Cap One and were stationary, like on the shoulder for like 2 minutes, you will get a cop coming up to you saying, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
standing
try
still
30
here?
seconds probably.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's just the whole "we want the cup" thing. I was juiced up from the win, but I was like, also, this kind of doesn't feel right. Like,
yeah, you're like, don't do it. Don't tempt it.
Yeah. But anyways, good time at the game. Saturday, Pens play the Lightning. Now, I don't know if you guys got to watch. I know Arsenal was playing and you're occupied with that, but
yes,
one of the best games of the year. I'd put it up there with the Caps Canes game, that 6-5 finish. Just a wild game. Gino has looked unbelievable lately. I don't know if you guys saw, his parents are in town from Russia. The Penguins need to pay whatever amount of money to the U.S. government to keep them there because he's looking unbelievable lately.
I'll tell you what, I was talking about Malkin just last night with one of my buddies, Red Wings fan, and It's just one of those things where he's that player, and say, for better or for worse, when they're good, he's going to turn on the Jets and play a part. But all season when they're in the cobwebs of the Eastern Conference and shit's not going well, he's kind of nowhere to be found.
He's a
Yeah.
cone.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not saying it's good or bad or criticizing the guy. I'm just saying, if anything, look out now, because if they make the playoffs, I know he hasn't necessarily had like an amazing year, but doesn't matter.
He is that guy that would flip that switch, though.
No, exactly. Like it feels like it's totally a choice for him. It's not the
Yes.
kind of thing where you can say like, "Oh, Malkin's washed." No, it's
Does
just he
that
doesn't
remind you
care
of
right now, but he might if they make the playoffs.
remind you of any players that the Caps have had maybe recently?
Yes,
I can think of
several.
like 8.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Kuznetsov, Semin, like
Yep.
I'm noticing a
Throw
nationality
Victor
trend.
Kozlov in there, maybe.
Yeah, well, let's just name all the fucking Russians. But yeah, no, Gino looks great, and Mac, like you said, he turns it on in that Lightning game. Well, I think one of the reasons he's turned it on, this is no shade at Jake Gensel. I love Jake Gensel. I wish he was still here. Michael Bunting has been unreal for us so far.
yeah, when that like all went down, I was like, this is gonna suck, because he is such a Mike Sullivan Penguins type player, where as long as
Totally.
he's doing like the 5 things that Sully wants, which is, mainly groundhog related, you know, he will get ice time, he will get power play time, and he will be very successful on that team, which I can't stand.
Okay. Still no word from the fucking groundhog.
Should we give anyone some background so they don't think we're completely like idiots? Like Mac, do you want to just
Yeah,
briefly explain the joke?
Yeah, we probably should. This was last night, right? And
Yeah.
Harry asked us in the group chat, he says, "Where the hell was this Penguins team all season long?" And I said, "They were waiting for Punxsutawney Phil to give word." And then Nick Nick proceeded to imagine if that were actually true, and what Mike Sullivan would say if they hadn't heard yet from Punxsutawney Phil if they were supposed to be good or not.
Like, imagine it's like 24/7, like the show
Right.
they used to do for the Winter Classic, but it's just like zoomed in on him in the locker room, like walking in through the door.
Yeah, and you're exact. I mean, that is absolutely something he would say. Still no word from the fucking groundhog. So I don't want to see anybody scoring any goals out there. Don't be a
Yes.
hero.
Oh man.
It's one of those
Anyways,
late night EB conversations that
Yeah.
just don't make sense.
Right.
yeah, back to
We're
reality
all-
here.
We're all just dying about.
Huge win over Tampa. So that was nice. Obviously last night, Monday, they lose to Toronto in overtime. I know people were screaming about the starting lineup and Sid not being on the ice. I think it was Pierre LeBrun tweeted that his skate was having an issue. And my whole point to that is like, okay, so you decide to put Lars Eller and Drew O'Connor out there, not like Gino and Rust, or
I'm
like
I'm starting to be convinced that Lars Eller has a clause in his contract where he's required to start overtime, even if it is the worst possible decision that any coach could
ridiculous.
make. Because I'm having flashbacks last year. There were like several times where we lost some game, not necessarily because of his fault, but he was the scapegoat, and Cap's Twitter would just blow up with, "Why the hell was Lars Eller on the ice for that?"
Yeah.
Sully's like over at the bench. He's like, all right, we're gonna go with Sid. We're gonna go with, and then you just hear, he's like, fuck. All right, Lars, go ahead.
The clause.
Yeah.
The claws. Yeah. But tough loss, still grab a point. Nedeljkovic, I think he started like 9 games in a row. They're doing the Charlie Lindgren treatment right now. The backup gets hot and they're riding him. So it is going to be the game of the year on Thursday. Make it back-to-back game of the years for the Detroit Red Wings. They just lost their first one to the Caps. Thanks for firing up. So now they're going to be really fired up to come into our barn and beat us on Thursday night. Just brings back great memories. Little good old Penguins, Red Wings, big implications.
This is probably the biggest Penguins Red Wings game since 2009.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see. Penn's got a tough schedule remaining, probably the toughest of all these teams. The Red Wings, the Bruins, the Predators, and then that last game of the season. I have a weird feeling we have to go to Long Island and somehow beat those bastards. So we'll see.
The way this is all shaping up, it will 100% come down to the last day of the regular season.
Yeah.
For everyone, by the way,
Yes.
not just the Penguins or the Caps. I
Yes.
fully expect all of these teams are so stupid and so bad that they will all find a way to
What's the tiebreaker? Is it regulation wins?
I think
is.
so.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Regulation wins.
And then after that, is it head to head or is that not even a
I think it is, but I'm not positive. All I
Is
know
it
is
going to
I
be
was
like points percentage or something stupid like that?
maybe it might be. I don't know.
so Pens have Detroit, Boston, Nashville Islanders. I just said that they have to go at minimum 3-1, probably more likely 4-0, or 3-0-1 or something like that. I want to ask you guys, Caps have Buffalo, Tampa, Boston, Philly. Realistically, what would you give your record for those four? I mean, that's somewhat tough as well.
The one I'm most concerned about, believe it or not, is Buffalo.
I completely agree.
The Caps are, as we saw, like not what 6 days ago, are completely terrible in that building.
We're
And
so bad in that.
they have
I
a
wish I had it
very
in
hard
front of me, but
time.
like it's not even just like I think literally over the last like couple years we have like a brutal stat line in that building.
They also just, it is a very difficult team for the Caps to defend. That team is very skilled, very fast, very young.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how mobile the defense core is. And then we haven't even gotten to Tage Thompson or Zach Benson yet.
Yeah, it feels bad. That one feels like another regulation loss for sure. The Flyers game was scaring me this whole season, but it's starting to look like maybe the easiest one we have left. Knock on wood.
Tampa and Boston will absolutely be difficult. I feel a little bit better that they're at home. But
And that they both kind of have their shit locked up. So hopefully
Yeah.
there's a little bit maybe they even rest a couple starters or something. You never know.
go with the backup Tendy or something. Just
Boston, for whatever reason, I actually have liked the way we've played Boston for almost this entire season. That's actually the team I'm hoping we somehow get if we get in the playoffs, but that's a whole nother story.
I think what the Caps should do, and so if you could call someone on the team real quick before they get on the plane, is just go sneak into the Red Wings locker room, get the Red Wings uniforms, and wear those when they play Tampa.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And then the Red Wings, we kind of just touched on it, but they've got at Pittsburgh, at Toronto, and then they finish off with a home and home with Montreal. I know people are like probably scoffing at that home and home with Montreal. I would not scoff at that. They
Not
just
after
put up
tonight.
No, I mean this is the hardest time of year to predict games like that because you've got young guys who are getting a chance. You've got teams that are out of it, but the players still have incentives on their contracts to hit certain milestones. So
That's a great point.
don't sleep on Montreal for
And
some
I feel like in a weird way, those teams are almost more dangerous because they have absolutely nothing in the standings to play for other than, hey, wouldn't it be sick to just be a total thorn in this team's side tonight for no fucking reason? Like,
Look at what Ottawa's doing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
They're just trying to fight everyone for no
like
reason.
in a weird way. That's kind of why I'm glad we have Tampa and Boston mixed in there because again, maybe they dial it back just a little bit, even if it's more of a subconscious thing for them, you know.
So this is the team that is really being a party pooper for our teams, the Pens and the Caps. The New York Islanders are all of a sudden hot. They've won 5 in a row. They beat the Rangers tonight. And then their remaining 4 games, they've got Montreal, then they're at the Rangers, then they're at the Devils, who just announced Jack Hughes is out for the rest of the season, and they finished the season against Pittsburgh. Varlamov looks really good. I don't know, guys. It feels like these guys are going to lock up that Metro 3.
Yeah, suddenly I'm having a hard time seeing them on the outside looking in. And I think Elliot Friedman said it best in one of his recent episodes. If you're if you're Washington, Detroit, or Philadelphia, you have to be looking at the Islanders and the Penguins, but especially the Islanders right now and saying, holy shit, this is our fault. These teams were dead in the fucking water and we completely blew it and let them back into this shit, and now they're probably going to make the playoffs. So
That's a great point. I think the other thing with the Islanders is they can just out of nowhere just frustrate you in ways that other teams in this league can't. They're just their own little thing. They're an anomaly for whatever reason. And when, like we're seeing it now, Harry, you said it, Varley's hot, and all of a sudden this team is, putting the puck in the net too. That's an insanely frustrating.
Gorvat.
Yeah, exactly. It's an insanely frustrating combination, and I don't want any part of that if I'm any of the teams in the Eastern Conference going into the playoffs.
It's also just like a very classic team fires their coach. They bring in Wah. Then they make the playoffs, and it's like, oh, like no one
Back
gives
to
them
the
a
Eastern
chance.
Conference Final again.
Yeah,
Yep.
no one gives
like
them a chance.
That
And
guy might know one or two things about deep runs in the postseason, but
yeah, it's a weird vibe for the Islanders right now. If I'm looking at those last 4 games, the Rangers are still trying to lock up that 1 seed. It's going to be tough to go into their barn after just beating them a few days later and beat
that
them
one
again.
could be a loss. But
So,
everything else, I mean, the Jersey and the Montreal game, I feel like are for sure a win.
Yeah, they're going to win this.
And
our
Pittsburgh, I don't know.
Our buddy Dean had boots on the ground for that one, and I just got the "How about them Islanders" text, so I think they're feeling it right now.
Yep, Mr. Krabs.
Only thing I'll say about Philly, they've lost 9 of their last 10, and they had that Metro 3 locked up, and man, what an epic collapse that they've had. They've got 3 games left, so they've played the most games out of all the teams remaining. They've got the Rangers, the Devils, and the Caps. I would say Philly's cooked at this point.
They're cooked.
They're cooked big time.
Quick question for you guys, and then we'll kind of step on the gas a little bit and get this rolling. What do we make of the Tortorella situation? Because this is a guy that we've talked about all year. If the Flyers make the playoffs, he very well could win Coach of the Year. And suddenly, now if they're not going to, there's people talking about, is he going to get fired? It's like
crazy.
It's the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen, because it's like, put it this way: if the Flyers have a normal season and are slightly overperforming all year, and then they end up a couple points out of the playoffs, you say, good job, great season. We overperformed. We exceeded expectations. But because they mega overperformed and then had this catastrophic downfall at the end of the year, now it's like Torts' job is in jeopardy. And I don't know if it actually is, but that, at least that's what Twitter, it's a question mark, at least,
There's definitely someone who's making some type of rumbling about that. Do I think it's really in jeopardy? I don't necessarily know if it's because of the collapse, but
I think it's more that there's players who seem to be pretty adamant that they don't.
It's just the last 3 weeks. Look at the Couturier thing, look at the press conference. That's all going to get rolled into people's mindset about what's going on here with the Flyers.
Yeah.
Mac, I think your point about, the Islanders, you were saying how the Caps and the Penguins and everyone, they kind of, fucked it up and let the Islanders back into the playoffs. I think all of us need to thank the Flyers for literally laying a fucking dud and opening the door for everyone else.
Not just for a week, for like the last month and a half, basically. They
they
had that shit kind of locked up for a while. It didn't look like it was possible for them to fucking lose their footing this bad.
Yeah. It's been the only slide or collapse right now that has been worse than the Caps 6-7 game losing streak. Yeah. So, It's crazy.
Not to kind of dive into other areas, but that ever since the Carter Hart thing, they haven't found that they have no goalie. They got
that's fair.
Sandstrom and Urson. I'm like, well, what do you? And then they got this Fedotov guy. It's like, okay, but I don't know. They don't really have a goalie, but we digress. I want to talk to you guys about some playoff matchups that are pretty much set in stone. We're not going to go too in depth. We'll save some for the playoff previews, but I would say there's probably a 99% chance that we are going to get the Winnipeg Jets against the Colorado Avalanche. The Jets have won both meetings against the Avs this season, dating back in December, where they played both games. And fun fact, these two teams will square off on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, so we might get a little preview. Just first initial thoughts on how that series might look.
That
it.
is the definition of big boy fuck you Western Conference hockey.
Yep.
That is going to be an unreal matchup. I hope. I do think there's like a very slim chance that Colorado just blows the doors off them somehow. But I think it's a lot more likely this goes like 6 or 7 games. And I do think the Jets could win too.
I feel like this is either going to be Avs in 5 or Jets in 7.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Ooh.
It'll depend on those first couple games. If the Jets can win one of the first 2 and kind of make it a little even from the start, I love that.
What about this matchup intrigues you guys? Are you looking at this as, can the Colorado Avalanche just outscore their way to winning hockey games? Or is it more of, how in the hell do you stop Nathan McKinnon in the postseason?
A little bit of
Both.
Yeah.
I personally, like, I think it's cool that we're gonna get the superstar who's probably the front runner for MVP with home ice advantage against Connor Hellebuck, who's been the best goalie all year. Some people are saying he should be in the MVP conversation. And a Jets team that's just stingy defensively. Like, they got that big body, block shots, play the system. I'm loving to see those two styles collide.
Tough building to go into.
Yeah.
15,000 people, tiniest save for Mullet, which doesn't count. And that place is an absolute madhouse in the postseason.
Yep.
Those whiteouts are no joke. And then Panthers versus Leafs. We're gonna get a little rematch from round 2 of last year.
That one's pretty much set in stone too, huh?
Yeah. If you look at the standings, I mean, assuming that Boston doesn't like collapse here, it looks like they're gonna lock up that 1 seed in the Atlantic. But I'm gonna say Panthers and Leafs is probably gonna happen. Toronto's won 2 of 3 this season against the Panthers, and those 2 teams face off a week from today, April 16th. Any thoughts? We got Leafs involved.
Many
so
thoughts
fun.
about that series, but that's another one that I feel like you're just going to turn on and it's going to be like a 6-goal first period.
I was going to say this every single game, one team is going to score 7. Like,
yeah.
I want a prop. Someone please DM us if this prop exists, because I actually will bet it. It's really weird, but I would bet this. I would bet this series to have more penalty minutes than any other series in the playoffs.
That's a good one.
That. That's a very good one.
This just screams like Domi, Kachuk, Cousins, Reeves, like all that kind of shit. I love that.
Fireworks.
That's what I would look for.
It's the playoffs. You might not see Reeves, but it would be great if there was if there was a prop like over under like penalty minutes for the whole series. That would be so fun to like sit there and like try and do the math on what that would come out to.
I sense a lot of fireworks there. And then to round out the discussion portion, Nick, I know you're going to want to chat about this. The Dallas Stars, man, they had a statement week. They had a dominant win over the Oilers 5-0, and then they went into Colorado's barn and put up a touchdown on them and won 7-4. They've won 9 of their last 10. Ironically, that one loss was to the Blackhawks. Don't ask me how that happens. Jake Ottinger has been absolutely stellar as of recent. And I know we talked about this before the recording, but that Ben Johnston Stankoven line is probably the hottest line in the league over the past month. My question to you guys is, should this team be the odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup? Before I let you guys answer, just going to read the DraftKings odds to win the Cup right now. Hurricanes are the favorite at plus 650. Panthers plus 700, Avalanche plus 700, Oilers plus 750, Rangers plus 900, and then they have the Stars tied there at also plus 900.
If you want me to re-rank those for you, I would go most likely to win it, Avalanche, second, Panthers, third, Rangers, fourth, Stars, fifth, Oilers. The Hurricanes are not fucking winning the Stanley Cup.
Where's Dallas?
I said Stars in there. Like fourth, I think. Fourth is what I said. Yeah.
I would 100% anticipate the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup ahead of the Carolina Hurricanes.
The Hurricanes are not winning the Stanley Cup. You can literally quote me saying this, put it all over the fucking internet. The Hurricanes are not winning the Stanley Cup this year. Not a
Okay,
fucking
so even though
chance.
this is a Dallas Stars segment, I'm gonna pose this poll on our Twitter. Who has a better chance of winning the cup this year, the Hurricanes or the Oilers?
The
I want to
Philadelphia
see.
Flyers. No, I'm kidding.
I want to see what the fans say. I don't know. That's a tough question. I might lean Hurricanes. I'm also a little biased for Gensel, but
Right.
No.
not saying I want them to win it, but like, I don't know. Mac, it shocks me you think the Oilers have a better chance because you're
I
always
love hating on the Oilers, but
But we love to hate the Canes a little
I
bit, a
do, but
lot of
this one,
it
I
more.
swear to you, this one's not even personal. This is a fully like objective scientific look into that hockey team, and they're not winning the Stanley Cup this year.
Mr. Manella. I want to ask you about your team, Dallas. You've been ranting and raving all season long. I'm assuming I won't spoil it, but they're probably going to be your Western team to make it to the finals if I had to bet. What do you think
Sticking with
about
the pick.
What do you think about this team right now? Like where would you rank them in terms of odds to win? What's standing out?
They wouldn't be my favorite to win it. I think I would probably put out of the West, I would certainly put Colorado ahead of them just because we've seen what Nate Dogg does to a team in the postseason. It's him and McDavid are the two single players that elevate their game more than anyone else in this league right now. Going back to the point you made earlier, that one loss to the Blackhawks, which is just like so bizarre. That is the Dallas Stars for this season. They will score 7 goals on the road in Colorado, and then they will lose these random games to the Coyotes, to the Blackhawks. It's sort of a little bit, figuring it out. One night they look great, one night they don't. They're doing their goal scoring by committee. A lot of those guys are having great point number years. Ben's producing, which I know we've been maybe not his biggest fan over the past 3 or 4 seasons. I think we were saying he was a waste of space there at one point, but I absolutely still think this team could and will be in the Stanley Cup final in June.
I like it. I think if Ottinger stays dialed, they can do it. So we shall see. I don't know. I don't know who the odds on favorite would be. I guess Max says what? Avs. Nick probably says Avs. I
think
think I'd
so.
agree with Avs.
Yeah.
Surprised the Rangers are that low,
No,
but
actually, the only reason I would argue maybe not the Avs is because of what you just told me that they might have to, that they're probably going to have to face the Jets in the first round. I'd say that's like,
brutal.
that could be their biggest obstacle. I don't know. We'll see.
Now, if they get through them, look out.
Right. And that's the kind of adversity you face and you overcome in the first round. And like you said, look out.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to move on to the news segment presented by Elwoods. I think Mac has a word from them.
Sure do. And before I do this ad read, just want to give an extra special shout out to them for making it to the Foamy Four in the Wisconsin or the Dives of Wisconsin Twitter / Instagram bracket. They unfortunately did not advance the championship round, but hell of a push
Rigged.
there. And yeah, and it just, rigged, right? But it just goes to show how many Elwoods fans are out there. So just a reminder to support your local dive bar and have a beer at Elwood's Liquor and Tap, home of the Pizza Luge, located in the heart of downtown Milwaukee on Water Street. This 70s inspired bar has got a little something for everybody, from daily happy hour, rotating taps, free birthday perks, and a 4-season patio. A good time is always around the corner. With the full NHL package plus TV screens inside and out, hockey fans can watch any game anytime. And don't leave your dogs at home. They're also a dog-friendly bar. We will see you down at Elwood's, and you will most certainly see me at Elwood's for some playoff games this year.
For sure. So we are going to run through the news here real quick. Kind of touched on it earlier, but Jack Hughes will miss the remainder of the season due to undergoing shoulder surgery. It is expected that he will make a full recovery before training camp of next season. So obviously for the Devils, they're kind of throwing in the towel, as they should. On Saturday's game, that Tampa Pens game I referenced, NHL referee Steve Kozari expected to make a full recovery after colliding with Tampa Bay's Hayden Fleury. That was kind of a scary incident. He got stretchered off in the middle, I think, of the second period, if I'm not mistaken. So scary incident there, but glad he's going to be okay.
He's an absolute veteran too. He's been around for a long time. I think he's reffed a handful of cup finals as well. So,
and I know, There's been a lot of talk about the officiating this year, but it just goes to show how absolutely tough the officials are. And to do what they do night in and night out is just insane.
Yeah. Uh, I'm going to make this a discussion portion in the offseason. Hashtag free Brady Kachuk. But this man set the NHL record for most hits in a game with 16 hits on Saturday against the Devils. What a bowling ball.
I think he was expecting to play postseason hockey this year, and it just didn't pan out for the Senators. They just fell behind and couldn't make up the ground like we talk about in the East or in the Metro. And he's just getting it out now before the summer, right? Just get it out of your system
I tell you what, he's been the better Kachuk brother all season long.
for sure.
I can't wait till the day he leaves Ottawa. Irrelevant market. Okay, Jeff Skinner, speaking of irrelevancy, he played his 1,000th NHL game. Kudos to him. But he also became the only player in NHL history to play 1,000 games with never playing a playoff game.
That's fucking sad. I'm not gonna lie. That's actually
It's a
really,
bonkers
really
stat.
sad.
It is a weird stat. Out of all the people,
Poor
Jeff
guy.
Skinner, like,
Yeah, I don't know why. I could have sworn he was on the Hurricanes when they like snuck into the playoffs or something, but I guess he just missed their cup run.
That probably
and-
means no bubble playoffs either. No, he didn't even make the Mickey Mouse. Huh?
right.
That's crazy.
he didn't
Wow.
even make the
What a
Mickey Mouse.
stat.
Mr. Austin Matthews, he hit the 65 goal mark, becoming just the second player to do so in the salary cap era. I think everybody listening to this show probably knows who the other guy was. A little tinted visor action back in 07, 08. Poppy did score again tonight, I believe, against the Devils. He's currently at 66 while we are recording. He's got 4 games left to hit 70, so he needs a goal per game to hit that marker. Yes or no, does he do it?
One short.
I was just gonna say 69
Nice.
for sure.
Love that.
That's what I'm thinking.
Rather be there than 70, right?
Right.
Speaking of milestones, McDavid stuck at 99 assists. He's looking to become the 4th player ever to hit 100 assists in a season. But it was announced today that he is day-to-day with an injury. If you're the Oilers, what are we doing here? How are we playing this out?
If I'm the Oilers, I don't give a single fuck about your record. I really don't.
I
Yeah.
agree. Because you hit the record and you get hurt again, and then nobody
Yeah.
remembers.
No. And then if he's hurt, you lose in the first round.
Watch them have been stupid enough to put like point incentives in his contract, and they're like, "Oh my god, we can't afford another fucking one of these, dude. You're sitting. Like, we'll let you have like an extra month off or something, but you're sitting. We're not paying you any more money."
100 assists, extra 2 million. Yeah, no, rest. No, the
Hurt,
MRI,
dude. You're so hurt.
Yeah,
You're
but
so
they
hurt.
rigged the MRI or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting scenario there. We'll see how that shakes out. The finalists for the Hobie Baker Award have been announced. We've got Cutter Gauthier, Jackson Blake, and Macklin Celebrini. Nick, you're the college hockey aficionado. What are we thinking?
So I actually thought Will Smith, the leading scorer in all of college hockey, should have been in there instead of Cutter Gauthier. But yeah, Jackson Blake has had an unreal year, but I don't see how you can pick against a 17-year-old who had a season like Celebrini did in college hockey. I mean, he's playing against guys who are in their 20s and just smoking them.
Yeah, I thought Will Smith should have been in there too. I mean, after all, he is legend.
He is.
So you got Barini. I'd love to see if there were odds on that. I want to see what his favorite is, but nonetheless, we are going to move on to the gambling portion of the episode presented by Prop Tracker. It is your one-stop shop for finding outlier bets for the NHL, NBA, NFL, and more. I know they just added golf. It is Masters Week, so that might be something that you want to check out. Once you find a bet you like, start tracking it to get notified on its progress, like shots, rebounds, or receptions. Go to proptrackerapp.com/emptybetters to try a free month on us for Android or iOS. You can find the link in our social media bios. All right, just going to run through this real quick. Colorado and Jersey, as of late, they've been hitting their overs a lot. Both of them have hit in 7 of their last 10. And conveniently, those are the 2 best over teams overall in the season. So if you're still betting overs, it's a tricky time of year to be doing that. But those are 2 teams you might want to keep an eye on. I know Jersey just hit it tonight against Toronto. Some player props. Luke Hughes. Look for him to be getting a point. He's got a point in 9 of his last 10. You can get that around even money usually. I mentioned Jamie Benn, points in 9 of his last 10. You can usually get that minus 120-ish. He also has goals in 9 of his last 10, which is fucking insane if you really think about it. That's around plus 240 depending. So that's been a cash cow lately if you've been doing that. Dylan Gunter on Arizona. It's been a point machine, points in 8 of his last 10, even money. And then this guy, I put this in the notes, but he just had a hat trick tonight as we we're recording this. Slavkovsky on Montreal. He has been really good as of late. He had a hat trick tonight, and he's got points in 8 of his last 10 games, also around even money. So look at those bottom feeder teams, Arizona, Montreal, some of the point props on there. And then last two things, Freddie Anderson, man, he has been really, really good since he came back from injury. Large part why the Canes might be favored to win the cup. He's 8-1 in his last 9 starts with a 954. That screams Carolina unders. That screams Carolina puck lines.
He'll be on the IR in about a week.
Jesus, Matt, come on. Just fought his way back, but yeah, probably. And then I just look at like the big games. You know, I'm a big game 7 under guy. That's one of my rules I live by. Look at Thursday night. You've got Detroit and you've got Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh's been a little bit better scoring lately, but that's probably an under game. We just saw Caps Wings. That was a huge game.
2-1.
That was
3-goal game.
Big under. So if you've got these big implication games, I lean under. So just keep a lookout on that. Nick, Frozen 4, we got that coming up here, so I want you to touch on the gambling odds.
Yep.
Does that start Thursday? Or?
Yep. Thursday. So we've got Denver and BU and Michigan and BC. So the over-under for both of these is set at 7. I would not go anywhere near that because I've seen Michigan win games 7-1 this year. I've seen Michigan win games 2-0 this year. It's just one of those things in college hockey where the game will decide what the score is. And I know that's a very stupid and cop-out answer thing to say. I would be looking, if you're looking for best bang for your buck, go puck line or money line. Try and find some prop that's going to make, you some money for BC, because I don't think anything straight up, they're minus 180 on the money line in that game. I hate to say it, but plus 140 for Michigan to win the game. Why not roll the dice?
If I'm not mistaken, didn't you have Denver in your finals?
I did.
What do you think about plus 130 against BU?
I don't hate it. I think they could beat BU. BU is playing a lot better than Denver is right now. They've struggled in their first couple games here that we've seen them as of late. I know they had to go to that double overtime game to start the tournament and everything. So I feel a little bit better about BU there, but plus 130 for Denver is not a bad bet either. And out of all of these matchups, it's probably the best bang for your buck combined with the most likely to hit.
And odds to win championship, if you want to read those off and maybe see what you like.
Yep, we touched on these last week, but just one more time. BC plus 150, BU plus 225, Michigan plus 450, and Denver plus 450. I mean, any of those are solid, like I said last week. If you're really getting frisky with it, I mean, Denver or Michigan at plus 450. Those teams, if they get there, they're absolutely, I consider it a level playing field. If I
much as I hate to say it, I feel like plus 450 Michigan, you're silly to not throw at least like $20 on that.
Yeah. Should be a fun Frozen 4, but we're running a little late here.
Wild transfer portal too, so there's a lot to catch up on over the summer.
For real. Yep.
Cruz Lucius just transferred. The Pens prospecting the Gensel trade, but we're running a little late here. Obviously, we're recording later than usual. Mac, do you have trivia or you want to just wrap up?
I do. I have a quick one. It's a really good one too.
Okay, let's run it.
All right. So this player on this day in history, the day you're listening, April 10th, 2006, this player became the first 50 goal scorer in San Jose Sharks history. You know it already?
Nick,
I have the jersey, Harry. You say it.
No, we're going to make it a tune. I'm going to say the first 4 letters of the last name. You say the last 4 letters of the last name.
Choo.
Okay, nice. But I knew you guys would get that quick, but let me just read the full stat because the second part of this is what's so fucking crazy to me. So Jonathan Chichu became the first 50 goal scorer in San Jose Sharks history on April 10th, 2006. His milestone game came against the Phoenix Coyotes as he added his 51st goal of the season just 44 seconds later. Here's the crazy part. He finished the 05-06 season with 56 goals, which is still actually, I don't know when this is written. Sometimes hockey writers are wrong, but as of whenever this was written, it says is still the franchise record and the only 50-goal season in Sharks history.
I think it is. I think
Is
it's
that
still
still
the most.
facts?
Yeah.
I can't think of someone else who's done it.
Because that's kind of
Danny
fucking
Heatley,
crazy.
All-Star 50 and 07, did not do it with the San Jose Sharks.
Thornton never did it. Pavelski never did it. Marlowe never did it. If those guys didn't do it, I don't think anyone has.
Yeah, that's crazy that Pavelski or Thornton never did it.
I think it's just crazy that Jonathan Chichu scored 56 goals in 2006, 2007.
That's an even better point, honestly.
That was the year Thornton had 96 apples. So
yeah.
Wow.
Was that the year he got dealt?
yeah,
Could be. Actually, I think it might have been the year
season
before.
Okay.
What's
What's the stat? He's like the only guy to ever get traded and finish the season with like 100+ points while being moved mid-season or something like that.
Yeah,
my
sounds
memory,
right.
my memory's not working that well, but I know that was the season Thornton had like an insane amount of assists. But good trivia question. I like
more
that.
of a fun fact because I knew you guys would get it quick, but just
I'm concerned
fact.
my brain wanted to make a jingle out of that, but it's that time of the night.
Chichu.
It's tough. It's tough.
All right, everybody. We appreciate everyone listening. Thank you for the love and support. We are 10 days away from the Stanley Cup playoffs when you're listening to this.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
It's going to be a fun ride there, and it's going to be a fun ride once we're there. So we appreciate it. And without further ado,
Class dismissed.